In this video, we're gonna learn how to turn AI generated model into game ready. And this episode will be about mesh editing, also known as sculpting. Hey guys, this is Steph, and many of you ask about simple tutorial how to do edits, enhance 3D models you create in 3D AI tools, and how to actually bring them to production, do some small changes. And I know a lot of people started to play with 3D AI tools without any knowledge, and these tutorials just for you, so you get that bare minimum of knowledge so you can actually edit your model, enhance it, use it wherever you want, like for videos, for games, and it is easier than you can imagine. Let's get started. So for this tutorial, we created this nice dino, and you can see the reference images. We used Item 3D. There's a video on my channel how you can use it, and so far I think it is most accurate to the model, providing like with a lot of nice details. So we're gonna use Blender for all the tutorials because it's free, it's amazing, it's powerful, and you can almost do everything you need here. So how to open the model? You basically export something into GLB. Here is my exported GLB. I'll drag and drop it here. Do not change any setting. Press import GLT, wait a while, and here is my model. So that's it. Also, before we start, let me introduce you to some very basic controls that we will be using along the video, and I think that's more than enough to get acquainted with the Blender. Camera controls. So the first one is wheel. By pressing the wheel, we can actually rotate the camera, and that's super easy. Another thing is that with pressing a wheel and also pressing shift, we can actually pan the camera like this. So this combination of keys is more than enough like to get in every position that we might need. But there is another very useful hotkey that called tilde, the key before 1 on the keyboard, and when you press it and hold, you will have this sort of menu. And if we drag mouse to one of the view and release the tilde, then it will actually rotate the camera, and we can always continue using wheel. Also, we'll be using like simple modes as move, rotate, and scale, and you can actually switch between them here on the left side. Now let's move on to the sculpting. So the first thing we'll do, we'll remove the material and do some cleanup after AI generation. We'll do retexturing in the next videos because we'll change the geometry. The current texture will not be aligned, and we'll remove it and we'll redo that in the next videos. So we need to press on the material tab, which is this one, and then press a minus button, which will remove the texture. And we also change a mode to solid, so we only see the geometry and focus on it. Okay, so let's decide what we're gonna change on the model. We will remove the eyes and replace them with spheres. We'll also redo the toes. We're smoothing the transition to this pattern on a belly. We will rework the stripes to make them more accurate and appealing. There is a problem on the claws. We will make them more accurate. Yeah, you can see these areas. And under the tail, we also extend the pattern and make it more accurate. And maybe some small adjustments here. Guys, before we continue, I really need to know if you need this video and I'll need to continue creating more tutorials like this. Drop a comment, like and subscribe, and let me know if that was useful or what to improve. And always remember, you can find me on the Discord, and I'll happy to help with anything related to 3D AI tools. Let's go. Okay, so let's get it started. First thing we'll do, we'll go to edit mode by pressing this. Then we will go to the edge mode by pressing this button. Press A button on the keyboard, and after we are inside the edge mode, by pressing right mouse button, you will need to find clear sharp and press it. That will basically remove sharp edges, a very important step so our model is rendered properly. You can also see all mouse buttons and keyboard buttons that I press here, so don't get lost. And now we are ready to go into the sculpting mode. So let's go to the mode and sculpting mode. So the first thing we need to do is to remesh it, and basically that will add more polygons, so whenever we use brushes, the geometry looks smooth. So in this example, we will try to do voxel size for 0.00.2. We'll press remesh. We'll have to wait a little bit, and then we'll see if the geometry still look decent. You can actually play with the button to see if that's enough for your case. You can basically paint something with the clay brush by simply pressing the left button and moving around. And if the result is smooth, then probably the resolution is enough. If it's too smooth and there's too much vertices and it's too laggy, try to get resolution higher, but if it's not enough, try to get resolution lower. So in our case, 0.2 is just enough, and we'll be continuing. Another cool thing is that if you work with symmetric models such as mine, we can actually split it into the half and mirror it, and then do changes on one side and the other side will be mirrored, and we'll save a lot of time. So the first thing, we'll go to the front view, we go to the edit mode, wireframe mode, and we'll also activate X-ray mode. So whenever we select, it will also select something behind the model. We'll try to select exactly the half of the model. In Blender, selectors, masks, and brushes has option to invert the use if you hold the control. So here you can see by holding control and doing the selection, I can deselect some area. Without control, it will actually select it. Now it looks almost perfect. And we'll press X on the keyboard and delete faces. All right, now we can go back to the object mode. Let's find and add mirror modifier and choose X on the axis. It might be a different axis in your case, depends on where the model is rotated, but yeah. We also activate the clipping option. If everything seems fine, we can actually press that arrow down and press apply. Now this is a solid model and we know 100% that two sides are identical. Now when we go to the sculpt mode, we need to make sure the sculpting, the mirror mode activated at this one, and all the changes will be mirrored. But since we did change to geometry in object mode, it will not hurt to do remesh once again. And after that done, we are ready to do sculpting. Here are a few hotkeys I will be using in sculpting. So the first one is F, and it is for changing the brush size very easily. So you just press and hold F and move your mouse and left to right and see what brush size you want. Press left mouse button to confirm. You can alternatively change it here, the strength and the radius. Also, we'll be using M for masking, and we'll often use Control to do inverse action. So for example, if I'm in the mask and paint something and hold Control, it will actually remove the mask. Same for the brushes. If I do add something and then I press Control, it will actually inverse the action. Okay, so we're gonna start with eyes. So the first thing, we'll choose the mask, we'll set the convenient size, and we'll try to paint the eye. Don't forget to make sure the mirror mode is selected. Okay, so we'll try to paint an eye, and then we'll try to remove the eyeball as it is right now, just simply moving it back and adding a custom 3D ball. So here I already finished painting the mask, and then we can go to the mask and press sharpen mask. That will make it like sharper. With the control, we'll remove some areas and we'll add an area to make it finally accurate. When it's done, let's do the following. We'll go to the mask and we'll invert the mask. So how mask work, the masked area will basically not affected by any brushes. Now what we can do is go and choose elastic grab, make it bigger, and let's try to just push this eyeball inside. It is as simple as we use our hands. Now we'll choose inflate, and with the control we'll actually deflate it inside, and by painting it will just push it inside. All right, so here is the current result, and that is more or less enough. Now we'll choose the smoothen brush, reduce a little bit strange, and smoothen the edges. Also, smooth brush is always available by pressing shift. You don't have to switch to the smooth brush. You can work with any other brush, press shift, smoothen, and continue using that brush. Now when this is done, let's go to the mask and press clear mask, and now we need to just fix the eyeball. We'll just use the smoothen mask with the smaller radius and just move the mouse around and make it smoother. When we are back to in a object mode, let's press Shift A, go to the mesh, and let's create UV sphere. Let's rotate it by 90 degrees so it looks like this. Then let's move it a bit higher. Let's scale it by dragging that inner circle. You can also do that by hotkeys, but here I'm showing like how you can use these gizmos. Okay, at this stage, what we're gonna do is that to go to the object, we'll set the origin to the 3D cursor, and the 3D cursor must be located in the word origin. If it's not located there, don't worry, you can always go to the view and there is a 3D cursor and just make sure this one is everywhere 0. This is how you can change 3D cursor to 0. Why do we need it? Is just so we can set a mirroring correctly. So the origin basically is that point that you drag to move the object, or the point relatively to which the object is moved. Alright, when the origin is in place, we can add the modifier called mirror again, and we can see that it's here. Also, while in object mode, press right mouse button and add shade out the smooth. That will result in modifier. Then we can go back to the edit mode and let's adjust our eye. Okay, let's scale it a little bit. Let's find the right position. Let's move. To select whole object, just press A on the keyboard. Okay, and I think that's enough. Let's go back to object mode and let's select the dino again and go to adjust the eye hole a little bit. Let's use elastic wrap to adjust the shape of the eye hole. Again, it's very simple. Press and drag and it will be adjusted. Also, let's use the clay brush to inflate some areas around the eye. Okay, select this right side. Okay, like that. Let's smoothen it a little bit. Can reduce the strength a little bit. Let's adjust the shape here a little bit so it's look exactly as a eyeball. Okay, and now I think we're happy with the eyes. Let's move on to the teeth. So what we're gonna do is first mask the teeth and to try to remove them. There is a different mask called box mask. This button is mask and this is a box mask. Okay, and with the box mask, it can be projected from you and we can select them like this. Go to normal mask and just paint on top. Okay, we now selected almost everything, just final touches. Now you can see the opposite side is also selected because the mirror mode is activated. And if you accidentally select something wrong, but press Ctrl and paint on top and it will invert. When the job is done, let's go to the mask and invert the mask and we'll select the line project. And by simple move like this, we can actually cut the whole geometry. Now we can smoothen these areas a little bit, but most likely will not be enough. So here is another cool thing in sculpting that called dynamic retopology. So we'll first clean the mask. We'll try smoothing it this part. So you can see these small artifacts, and to fix them, let's activate Dyn Topo. Okay, so let's try use clay brush with the control to inflate the area and smoothen it with the shift pressed. We can also use brush called Draw Sharp with the control, and we can draw the line, this separator line here. Okay, and also use shift to smoothen when we're happy, right? So you can always combine it. I'm gonna smoothen this part. Now let's enable Dyn Topo. So first, make sure on your object all the modifiers are applied. If not, you can simply apply it like that. Just press the arrow down, apply, and then you can enable Dyn Topo again. All right, so basically what it does, it recalculates the mesh and amount of polygons dynamically when you actually work with it. So we'll use the clay brush again and we'll add something and it will recalculate the geometry, the polygons and stuff. And let's try to smoothen this now. And you can see everything is fixed now. But be careful, use Dyn Topo only when you really add more geometry, because it will constantly increase the amount of polygons and that might result into freezes and stuff. Sometimes if that's not required, just disable that. Okay, here is my result so far, and I also disabled Dyn Topo, and I think that's enough. Looks very good. Now let's go to the object mode and we're gonna create new tools. So it's very simple. Let's press Shift A, create mesh and cube. Then go to edit mode. Let's select the top face and delete it by pressing X and choosing like delete face. Let's scale it to smaller scale. Okay. Let's move it. Let's try to position it near the mouth. Let's add a modifier subdivision. that will actually smoothen the geometry. Let's set it to 2. Let's also add outer smooth as before. Alright, so now the shape looks correct. Go back to the edit mode and try to locate it with the rotating movement. We can also scale it a little bit. Let's add more smooth, so there are no artifacts. Okay, we'll scale down the bottom polygon and extend it a little bit. So here we can take a look on it from the bottom view to see that it actually fits top part of the mouse. Now when it's done, we can actually duplicate it, but make sure you are in edit mode, that it will create additional geometry within the object, not another object. Okay, Shift D, duplicate, and we can move it a little bit. You can also press G to move it along the view, and S on the keyboard to scale it. Here is our another tools. Following the same logic, I just added the rest of the tools. Some are smaller, and here you can see them. Now let's go to the add mirror modifier on the x-axis. Okay, so our teeth are ready. Now let's go back to the sculpt node, and I can see the artifact here that I want to fix. Let's press Shift on the keyboard and just smoothen this here. Boom, that's fix it. As easy as it can be, we just fix it, that smoothen the area. Let's go to the side view, elastic grab, one of my favorite brushes. All right, a little bit here, a little bit here, make them a little bit more symmetric. Okay, now let's move to the neck area. So first of all, I want to smoothen the transition, and I will use a smooth brush again. That's basically smoothen all the stripes. Let's add the strength to the brush. We also will smoothen the side stripe all along the body. Okay, we'll completely remove the top stripes, and we'll actually draw them ourselves. Let's use draw sharp brush, and we'll start from the middle because it's symmetric. Maybe we'll add more strength, and let's start from the middle and draw the line ourselves. Nice. So you can see this line looks way accurate, and using like the pinch brush will narrow this area, and look how better it looks now. So we'll actually continue doing the same. Use the draw sharp and then the pinch brush. We can smoothen it with lower strength. Okay, so we'll do the rest, and look how beautiful I made it after 15 minutes. Now we're gonna try to modify the area under the tail. So we'll use elastic grab, and first we'll modify the shape of the tail. Now let's choose the draw sharp brush again. In a stroke menu, let's choose line instead of space. Let's make it smaller, holding F, strength to 0.5, and let's try to make a line. Here you can see how line works instead of space. You can experiment with another modes, which one works best for you. Okay, so here we go. It's easier to draw the line sometimes, but sometimes you better do that manually. Let's smoothen it a little bit with small strength, and use pinch brush to narrow this line. All right, look how good it is. And we're gonna draw new sections. Okay, so here is the result. I just ended like doing the same process as we did for the front side. Now let's also add some small details. We'll be using case sharp brush, and we can make, this small parts connected a little bit deeper, and it adds like some cool effect. All right. Now let's fix the claws. So the first, of course, let's smoothen the geometry. Okay, let's smooth around. Use elastic grab to adjust the shape a little bit. And at this stage, we can use crease polish brush and basically add crease around, right? Which will look way more accurate than it was before. Look how beautiful it is. Let's use pinch also to narrow this a little bit. Okay, so here is our claw, and here I just finished all in the same manner. Look how beautiful they are. The same exact thing we can do for the claw on the feet. Absolutely the same logic, and here look how nice they look. And as a final touch, I want to go back to the neck and the body, and with the line stroke for the draw sharp brush, we're gonna just make this one sharper, more noticeable. All right,
look way nicer. Let's also pinch it a little bit. Yeah, and now the pattern is more prominent. So here is our result. Look how beautiful it is. We have our teeth, we have our spheric eyeballs, we fixed a lot of artifacts, everything looks way smoother. The pattern on the belly, on the neck and the tail looks just amazing. We fixed it all close, on the hands, on the feet, and so on. We kept pattern here, we adjusted the shape of this area, and here we are. This is done. So we just actually sculpted the model, adjusted geometry until the perfect condition, adjusted the artifacts of AI model, adjusted the smoothness, fixed some shading, and so on. In the next episode, we're gonna look how to make the low poly version of it and big textures such as normal map and so on to follow the best practices of game-ready models. We'll also look into texturing and rigging. So guys, let me know if this tutorial actually works for you. It was easy to follow. I'm reading all the comments and trying to make the next tutorial even better.